Have you ever felt that the mere presence of certain people has the power to ruin your entire day? Have you ever found yourself dwelling for hours, or even days, over a misplaced word, a harsh look, or an unfair criticism? This isn't just common, it's what's destroying the mental health, relationships, and success of millions of people every single day. And the worst part, most don't even realize they're being emotionally controlled by those least deserving of that power. The truth is, those who don't learn to manage their reactions end up being managed by others. And the result of that is often tragic: broken relationships, missed opportunities, and an emotionally unstable life. But there is an antidote, and it lies in Stoicism. My name is Adriano. I've been passionate about Stoic philosophy for more than 10 years, and once I started applying its teachings to my own life, I realized that most of the things that threw me off balance were actually irrelevant. And the things that truly mattered, I began to handle them with clarity, without destroying myself from within. In this video, I'm going to reveal the Stoic secret to never being shaken by people again. And if you stay until the end, you'll understand why this could transform your life more than any advice you've ever heard. Let's go together. How many times have you stayed up at night, replaying in your head what you wish you had said during an argument, or wasted valuable time trying to understand why someone treated you so coldly, so rudely, so unfairly? The truth is, most people live in a never-ending loop of emotional suffering because they believe, often unconsciously, that they can control others, what they think, how they feel, how they behave, how they react. But that's an illusion, and maybe one of the most destructive of all. Epictetus made it clear, some things are up to us and others are not. Everything starts with that distinction. Other people's actions, words, and choices are outside your control. Trying to bend them to your will is like punching the wind and expecting it to change direction. Still, most people try. They try to convince others to be more polite. They try to prove they're right. They try to please, hoping to be treated with fairness. And when that doesn't happen, frustration, anger, and anxiety follow. Let's bring this into real life. Imagine a meeting at work where you do your best, deliver a solid project, and communicate clearly. But at the end, your boss barely looks up from the screen and says flatly, "This isn't good." Instantly, your heart races, your throat tightens, and you think, what else could I have done? That's the moment when Stoic wisdom cuts through the illusion like a blade. Your effort was within your control. Their opinion was not. And if you let that destroy you, you've handed over your power to someone who may not have even thought twice about their words. That emotional surrender, unfortunately, is what governs the behavior of millions of people every single day. Some people become bitter, reactive, or even aggressive because they can't accept that the outside world is unpredictable and beyond their control. But here lies the real misunderstanding. We weren't made to control the world, but to learn how to master ourselves within it. Charlie Sheen is a vivid example, a talented actor who reached the peak of the entertainment industry but ended up losing everything. Why? Because he reacted impulsively to every criticism, every pressure, every frustration, believing he had to control everything around him. But in trying to dominate the external world, he lost what was most valuable: inner peace, reputation, and eventually his career. Now think of the opposite. Keanu Reeves, a man who endured tragedies that could emotionally break anyone yet remained calm and centered. Why? Because he realized that pain is part of life, but despair is optional. He doesn't try to undo the past or control what people think. He focuses on what he can control, acting with integrity, speaking with respect, and carrying dignity in silence. This isn't just ancient wisdom. Modern science confirms what Stoic thinkers knew over 2,000 years ago. According to the American Psychological Association, nearly 2/3 of people with chronic stress say the root of their suffering is relationships. It's not traffic, weather, or money. It's how people treat each other and what we expect from them that causes the greatest emotional turmoil. But what if you reverse the logic? Instead of expecting others to change, what if you became emotionally unshakable? That doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means acting with clarity, feeling without drowning, listening without losing your center. Every interaction becomes a test of your character. If someone provokes you, will you stay composed or give in to reaction? If someone ignores you, Will you let it consume you or walk forward with dignity? Stoicism is a constant invitation to choose with awareness. You may not control what people do to you, but you can always choose how you respond. Take a deep breath, keep your gaze steady, and move ahead. As the Stoic said, the free person is not enslaved by the emotions of others. That freedom begins the moment you decide not to be owned by anything. And maybe now, this very moment, is your chance to start living that inner freedom before someone or something else decides your fate. Have you ever thought about how many decisions in your life were shaped not by your own will, but by fear of what others might think? How often have you stayed quiet, avoided speaking your truth, or stepped away from your own path just to avoid being judged? From childhood, we're taught to seek approval, at school, at home, at work, and slowly we start living to please instead of living to be. And in doing so, we drift away from our true selves and live lives shaped by expectations that were never ours to begin with. Stoicism comes like a sudden blow against the invisible walls that hold people prisoner without them realizing it. The Roman emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "Be like the rock that the waves crash against, but remains unmoved." His message wasn't just about resilience, it was about knowing who you truly are. When you have clarity about your identity, you don't fold under social pressure. You stop bending yourself to fit into others' expectations. That's what real freedom looks like. It means posting online without checking it 10 times in fear. It means saying yes or no to invitations without guilt or shame weighing on you. You can change your mind, your direction, or even your entire life without owing explanations to anyone. Still, the fear of judgment is real. It can freeze you in place, and sometimes it comes at a high cost. Amy Winehouse paid that price. A brilliant artist with an unforgettable voice who was slowly broken from the inside. The press hounded her, fans demanded more, and her family exposed personal details. Without inner strength to stay grounded, she lost her center. She tried to satisfy everyone and ended up losing herself. Her tragedy wasn't from a lack of skill, but from being crushed under the weight of endless external pressure. This kind of outcome is sadly more common than we think, and it teaches us a hard truth. If you don't define who you are, the world will do it for you. And the world, Adriano, is harsh. It cheers today, then condemns tomorrow. So you either build your life on principles or on applause, and applause doesn't hold anyone up. Now consider the opposite path. Joaquin Phoenix. He too lived under the spotlight, but he chose differently. He skipped interviews, avoided red carpets, and didn't follow the rule book of fame. And yet, or perhaps because of it, he earned respect. An Oscar. A life more aligned with his own values rather than the crowd's desires. He showed us that greatness doesn't need a megaphone, that success doesn't require pleasing everyone, that living fully is possible when you choose to live as your authentic self. And this mindset has scientific backing. A study from the University of Michigan found that people who depend on external approval feel more anxious and depressed. That's because the brain interprets every bit of criticism as a threat to identity. Living this way means constantly being on alert, never at ease. So what can we do? How do we apply Stoicism in a world obsessed with opinions? The answer is simple, though not easy: self-questioning. Ask yourself before any decision, would I do this if no one ever knew? If your answer is yes, then that choice is real, it comes from within. But if you sense fear, vanity, or insecurity behind it, it's time to stop, breathe, reflect. Another powerful tool is to remind yourself each day, other people's opinions are just that, opinions. They're not truths, they're not verdicts, they are not your identity. What people say changes like the wind. What they praise today, they might attack tomorrow. So your peace must come from your values, not from their voices. Your strength isn't built from claps, but from character. The Stoic way isn't about ease, but about liberation. It asks you to be honest with yourself above all else. It means putting your principles ahead of quick validation. Freedom isn't about being loved by everyone. It's about not needing to be. In a world that changes its mind every day, the only person who stays strong is the one who knows themselves. They don't need to shout, they need to live clearly, consistently, and truthfully. That kind of life requires no masks, no approval. It's grounded, and it's the kind of life that will carry you not only today or tomorrow, but for a lifetime. Imagine waking up no longer needing anyone's approval. Imagine making choices from your own core. You don't have to be perfect. You only have to be real. And that's worth more than any role you'll ever play. The Stoic doesn't aim to be noticed, they aim to be free. Not to follow the crowd, but to follow their conscience. And what you'll face on that road isn't less rejection, but more strength to face it without falling apart. You won't always be applauded, but you won't abandon yourself. That is the true victory. Not in how many cheer you on, but in whether you stayed true when no one was watching. Because the person who lives by principle may fall, but rises wiser, may lose much, but never loses themselves. And that is real strength. Not in shouting louder, but in listening inward. Not in pleasing the masses, but in not disappointing your own soul. If you can do that, if you can live from that place, then no opinion, no judgment, no applause or silence will ever be able to imprison you again. That, Adriano, is the Stoic path. Quiet, steady, and utterly unshakable. More often than not, what others throw at you has little to do with you. It's their own frustrations, limitations, and fears they can't carry themselves. So why are you holding the burden of something that doesn't even belong to you? Living with a Stoic mindset means taking full responsibility for your own life and refusing to be a victim of external expectations. It's not about being arrogant or cold, but about acting with clarity, standing firm without being harsh, and staying true to yourself without harming anyone. Stoicism gives you back something the modern world has nearly forgotten: inner freedom, the ability to stay grounded while the world screams around you. It's the freedom to follow what makes sense to you even when no one else gets it, and to remain whole in a world that constantly tries to break you inside. Because worse than being judged by others is betraying yourself just to be accepted by them. And once you finally see that, you stop living for everyone else and start living fully for yourself. How many times have you reacted on impulse and regretted it? How often has a small disagreement turned into a storm because you didn't remain silent? Silence, though often misunderstood as weakness, is one of the most powerful signs of inner strength and self-mastery. In Stoic philosophy, silence is treated almost as a sacred virtue. Seneca said, "Nothing is more admirable than a person who remains calm in chaos." It doesn't mean being passive or submissive. It means knowing when to speak and, more importantly, when to say nothing at all. Not every provocation needs a reply. Not every attack deserves a defense. Sometimes the other person just wants to unbalance you. And if they succeed in that, they've already won, because you gave them control over your emotional state. Picture something familiar. You're in a WhatsApp group, family, work, or friends, and someone drops a sarcastic or passive-aggressive comment. You feel the heat rise, your fingers itch to respond, and the moment you do, you've lost. Because even if you win the argument, you've handed your energy to someone who doesn't deserve that power over you. The real issue was never the group or the message. The real question is, what part of you still feels the need to prove something? Stoicism teaches that self-control is more valuable than a quick win, that it's better to appear weak than to become enslaved by your emotions. And those who don't learn this lesson in time often end up paying a very high price. Kanye West is a clear example, a creative genius who lost contracts, respect, and even freedom for not knowing when to stay silent. Not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every opinion should be public. Impulsiveness can destroy everything you've built. In contrast, Barack Obama, even when under constant attack, remained composed, firm but never aggressive. He didn't react quickly. He observed with intention, and that steady composure, that control over himself, was what made him one of the most respected leaders of modern times, not because he yelled, but because he understood the weight of silence. And it's not just a philosophical idea. Science confirms the power of silence and self-control too. A study in the Journal of Experimental Psychology showed that those who practice verbal restraint experience less stress, lower risk of depression, and greater emotional freedom. That's because every time you consciously choose silence, you strengthen your brain's prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for rational decisions, and weaken the amygdala's grip, which fuels emotional outbursts. How can you put this into action? Start small. When someone interrupts you, don't snap. Take a breath, listen, respond calmly, or don't respond at all. If you're tempted to send a message in anger, write it, but read it again the next day before you hit send. Often, what felt urgent yesterday seems irrelevant today. Silence isn't about lacking a reply. It's about showing control. It's choosing not to fan the flames, shielding your inner calm from the chaos around you. This isn't silence out of fear. It's silence from clarity, from strategy, from wisdom. Today's world applauds the loudest voices, the boldest shouts. But the Stoics praise the opposite. Those who need prove nothing. Those who remain centered while the world loses its balance. Maybe right now you're facing someone difficult, someone who tests your patience, provokes you, tries to shake your peace. Will you give them your calm as a gift? Or will you train your silence like a muscle? Each time you choose not to react, you grow stronger, more free, more stoic. That's the line between people ruled by emotions and those who keep their dignity even in storms. Self-mastery, often shown in a simple, powerful silence. Holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. As harsh as it sounds, that's how most people live, trapped in the past, bound by unhealed wounds, stuck reliving pain, rejection, and betrayal. What they don't realize is that while the other person moved on, they remained in emotional prison. And that prison, though quiet, is deeply destructive, silently consuming your mind and body. Epictetus said, "Anger and resentment are like hot coals you hold intending to throw them, but you're the one who gets burned." And that's exactly what happens when forgiveness never comes. That resentment becomes muscle tension, mental stress, and chronic anxiety. It seeps into relationships, choices, and dreams. You start seeing everything through the filter of pain. But you have the power to break the cycle. Silence holds the key. Not a silence of fear, but one of strength. With self-control, you stop being a prisoner of the past and become the master of your present. That's the silence that liberates you, a shield that protects you from the world's noise, a steady core that doesn't shake with the storm but holds firm through the storm. This simple silence may look small, but it's the most powerful force you own. It's the sound of a mind that's no longer reacting but leading. Where lightness should exist, there's only a heaviness pressing down. Where connection should grow, you've built silent walls. But Stoicism offers a radical truth. To forgive isn't weakness. It's the key that unlocks your own emotional freedom. As long as you're emotionally chained to what others have done to you, you're living like a prisoner in your own heart. No matter what they say or do or how late justice may come, unless you release that anchor, you'll never move forward. Let's make this real. Imagine someone you deeply trusted, a close friend, family member, or partner betrayed you. They lied, exposed you, and did what you once thought they never could. And with that, something inside you shattered. Your heart closed. You built defenses. You held on to pain like it was a weapon. But that weapon was always pointed inward. Anger might push you, but it also consumes you. You wake and sleep with it, and soon it shapes how you see others and yourself. Mike Tyson is a clear example. One of the greatest boxers to ever live, yet often ruled by his own rage. He lashed out, acted with fury, never let go of the past, and paid the price. He lost wealth, respect, and his freedom. Not for lack of talent, but because of the bitterness he held on to. He couldn't forgive others or himself. Now think of someone who chose the opposite path. Nelson Mandela. He spent 27 years wrongly imprisoned. 27 years of silence, pain, and injustice. When he was released, people expected vengeance, but he forgave. He reached out to his oppressors. And in doing so, he didn't just free himself, he helped liberate an entire nation. True forgiveness doesn't change what happened, but it completely transforms what that past means inside you. Studies from Stanford University show that those who practice forgiveness can reduce anxiety and hostility by up to 70%. They report stronger relationships, more inner peace, and a deeper sense of emotional freedom, because forgiveness sets you free. Those who forgive stop surviving and start truly living, with purpose, with clarity, and with lightness again. But how do you forgive someone who hurt you so deeply? It starts by realizing that forgiving isn't forgetting. It's not pretending it never happened. It's accepting that it did and choosing not to carry the weight of it anymore. You look at the pain like a scar. It remains, but it doesn't ache. It reminds you, but it no longer imprisons you. A powerful Stoic exercise is to write a letter, not to give to anyone, but to clear the storm inside you. Pour out your anger, disappointment, sorrow, then read it back as if someone else was sharing it with you. You'll begin to see that burden no longer belongs to you, because forgiveness isn't for them. It's something you do for your sanity, for your inner peace, for your strength, for your freedom. And when you forgive, you finally begin to live again, for your inner freedom. And even if it feels hard, you're not alone. Everyone has been hurt, everyone carries unresolved stories, but not everyone dares to heal. That's where Stoic philosophy invites you to a choice. Remain bound by pain or grow through it and turn it into a source of strength and clarity. To forgive is one of the most powerful actions a person can take, because it says, I take control. I decide that this pain will not define who I am. When you do that, you not only free yourself, you also become a source of inspiration, because those who hurt others often carry the deepest pain within. When you choose not to retaliate, you break the cycle and plant something new. And that's how the world begins to change, when someone decides not to repeat harm, but to transform it. Maybe this is your moment, to release, to let go, to realize that although your past may have wounded you, it does not have to shape your identity. Seneca once said, life is like a play. It's not the length but the performance that matters, and maybe your most courageous act on this stage is the choice to forgive. True strength doesn't lie in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. And when you truly understand this, you realize that no one can throw you off balance. Not an insult, not a dismissive glance, not even unfair criticism can shake you when you're grounded in self-command. That is the greatest freedom of all. Applying Stoic teachings today, not tomorrow, means living with more lightness, more insight, and deeper strength, free from the weight of judgment and past wounds. It means you stop carrying pain that no longer serves you and avoid reactions that take you away from the person you are working to become. If you've come this far, know that you've already taken a bold step, one that most people avoid because it takes courage to look within and take ownership of your own mind. Now it's time to move forward. The next video is right here on your screen. Watch it, because in it you'll rise one more step on your path of Stoic evolution. You will become 1% better than you were today. Thank you for being here with me. I'll see you in the next video.